Welcome. I'm Mike Larson, President and CEO of the Michigan Association of United Ways, and I want to welcome our viewers to our third Leadership Talk series. I have the privilege and the honor to work with 36 local independent United Ways across the state of Michigan, and their focus around education, financial stability, health, and basic needs for Michigan residents and the Alice population, those people that are working hard that have a lot of need and support. And this is an opportunity to highlight the challenges, the opportunities, the partnerships that really help make a difference in our communities across the state of Michigan. Today, I've been looking forward to this special guest because I've had the opportunity in my United Way career to actually work with Stephanie as well as the Kellogg Company for a number of years. So I want to welcome Stephanie Slingerland as our special guest. Stephanie is the Global Philanthropy and Social Impact Lead at the Kellogg Company. It's a long title.
It is a long title.
But it's an absolutely important, critical title. And I'm so excited to have you part of this conversation today, Stephanie. Could you just, I'm going to let you do a little bit of introduction of yourself and background on what you do at the Kellogg Company.
Sure. Well, that title is purposeful because obviously the philanthropy part is in there because I oversee our global giving for the Kellogg Company. But really, it's the social impact piece that I think is most meaningful and is why partnerships like United Way are so critical, because that's what we're all about. Of course, it's not just about the dollars that we are giving away to make a difference. It's about the difference that we're making. It's about that social impact and reaching communities. And so it's an honor to be able to do that on behalf of the company. Our focus effort is around hunger and food security. And United Way has been a tremendous partner in helping us to achieve those objectives for many years. In fact, our partnership is, I think, almost 100 years old at this point. So we go a long way back.
You look at the history of, just go to Battle Creek where Kellogg's is headquartered. That relationship goes back to when that United Way started. Is how far that goes back. And I think that's really important to emphasize here is, the reality and the changes in the environments continue to evolve in local communities. Needs have changed over time, but these partnerships have been the foundation of the work in local United Ways. They've always been there and they continue to play a significant role. And I know that in many cases, it was viewed as more of a funding, but in reality, it's much more than just resources. It's truly around focusing on specific needs in areas where there's common interest and goals and how we work together to create solutions to do that. And I'm grateful for Kellogg Company and other major corporate partners that we have in Michigan that are just foundational supporters of United Way. You started to talk a little bit about food insecurity and those types of things. What I love about the Kellogg Company is it's gotten very focused around what do they feel like they can have the greatest impact on. And why don't you talk a little bit more about why that and the work that you're doing and some examples of how United Way partners with you in helping address those issues?
Sure, absolutely. So it's been almost a decade now since we really took a look at how we were supporting communities and how we could make the greatest impact. We, of course, have a long history of giving back. You talked about, we said our long-standing partnership with United Way going back almost, a century. And that really stems from our founder, Mr. Kellogg, who was really a visionary and ahead of his time when it came back to supporting communities. I mean, he gave away almost all of his personal wealth to support children and families. Really an amazing, amazing person. And we continue to live those values even today. So we've had this long-standing commitment to communities, but we recognize that we were supporting a lot of great things, but maybe not having the greatest impact that we wanted to have. Again, going back to what we talked about even in my own title, that social impact.
Yeah.
And so we took a look at where we, as a food company, we knew we could have the greatest impact. And it really was around hunger and food security. And so we sharpened our focus, our giving strategy in 2013, and that's continued to evolve over the last decade. And, today we say that we have a focus on advancing sustainable and equitable access to food. And we really look at this in a holistic way. So the feeding program and supporting, ensuring people are getting access to food is certainly an important part of that. But we know there's a broader system that plays into people and their impact on and getting access to food. I mean, as we think about the ALICE population, there's a lot of factors that go into, whether or not they're able to put food on the table. And so we really try to approach through what we call our Kellogg's Better Days strategy, a holistic approach in how we're supporting sustainable and equitable access to food. So we think about well-being and how we're creating foods that help support people's well-being, whether it's physical needs, supporting, providing nutrients of need, thinking about hidden hunger and making sure that people have access to the nutrition that they need. But also well-being means your social, your emotional well-being. So we have a lot of foods that are fun and bring that joy and enjoyment to the people who love our foods. We also look at, again, those traditional hunger programs, how we're feeding people in need, because we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to access the food that will provide them that nourishment, that enjoyment, right? In addition to that, it's not just about getting the food to the people who need it, but also making sure there's enough food for everyone. And so we have a strong focus on sustainability, working with farmers with significant impacts of climate change on communities. And we know, populations like the ALICE population are disproportionately impacted by issues of climate. And so we're working with farmers to adopt climate smart agriculture practices to help increase their yields of crops, improve their livelihoods. And along with climate change, we as a company have to be good stewards of the planet too. So how are we doing what we can do to think about greenhouse gas emissions, water, reducing water use, waste, being, mindful of our electricity usage, all of that kind of thing. Yeah. And at the core of that is how we do it. It's not just about what we do, it's about how we do it. And so we have equity, diversity, and inclusion running through as a thread of all of that. Because if we're going to provide sustainable and equitable access to food, we as a company also have to make sure that we're adopting those principles and providing equitable and inclusive opportunities and being reflective of the communities that we serve. So that's the nutshell of what we call our Better Days program. It's a lot, but I think it's really unique because it does look at sort of broader, big picture and how these things intersect with one another. So, like I said, people are disproportionately impacted by the issue of climate. It impacts people who live in food deserts, their livelihoods. And we know that these are often communities of color. So these issues really do intersect with one another. And we really look at where we can drive at the intersection of that work. And United Way has been a great partner in helping us as we've refined our strategy and helping us look more closely at how we can drive sustainable and equitable access to food. We've had a particular emphasis on child feeding programs because we understand how critical it is for children to get access to the nutrition that they need. So, for example, we've done a lot of work to support feeding programs for kids at school. So through our partnership with United Way, we've helped to bring breakfast to every kid in Battle Creek Public Schools. Because, if they're not starting their day outright with breakfast, then it's difficult for them to learn. And then they're not having the right educational outcomes that we want to see from that. And then we've also partnered with United Way when school is out, because we know that so many kids rely on school meals, what happens in the summer months when those meals aren't available. And so we also have done a lot of grant work with United Way to support kids during the summer months as well, and ensuring they continue to get access to nutrition. That's just one example of how we've really honed our partnership in terms of the grant work and the impact that we're having in community.
Yeah. And it really highlights ground level impact that has. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to see the breakfast program in the schools in Battle Creek, and these are kids that are struggling. I mean, you're coming from households that don't have access to food, and just to make reference to it, because this isn't going away. This is only getting to be a bigger issue. United Way just released a new Alice report. It's called Alice in Focus, Our Children's Brief. And within that brief, and actually the most recent data, fall of 2021, it talks about 41% of our children are in households that fall below the Alice threshold, which means that they're struggling to put food on the table each and every day, which really gets to the food insecurity issues that we've been talking about. And it's, in a country like that, that's hard to imagine, but that's a reality. And it takes a real intentional focus, like what you're doing at the Kellogg Company, to really start to address the issue. And I know that United Way, and I appreciate that United Way has always been a partner in this work. I know that you engage a lot of different partners to help make that happen. And I think that's the other part that United Way brings to these kind of conversations, is it brings the relationships and the partnerships at a local community level, and brings people to the table to help find solutions to do this. So,
Yes.
I think, that's really exciting. Another thing that I've always appreciated, and I really respect the work that the Kellogg Company does, is its engagement, employee engagement. I'm amazed at your volunteer engagement that you have at the Kellogg Company, and the impact that has, and the result in is also creates the culture that you want within the company. Can you talk a little bit about just your volunteer engagement program that you have?
Sure, absolutely. And United Way is our go-to partner for engagement. Why? Because you're in every community where we have employees. You said we work with other partners across the country. That's true, but United Way is in every community. And so you're a strong partner for us from an engagement standpoint, in addition to the impact standpoint. But yes, the culture of giving back at Kellogg always amazes me. I see it in action many times, and it sort of takes me away every time I see it. In fact, we just were at a large global leadership meeting, and we had United Way help us organize activities. We got all of our leaders out into the community volunteering. And we had them going to different places. And so the day before, we went around all the different places, and we sort of scoped out the activity, so we could see the logistics and we could tell our employees what to expect when they got there. And it was funny because we went to several places, and they were like, this one local food pantry, for example, they had, I think we had 20 people going there, and they had 200 boxes that they were packing, as kind of a gift box that they were giving away with their weekly box that they give away as like an extra bonus of Kellogg and other items. And I said to them, I was like, okay, great. I'm so excited about packing these boxes, but what do you have for our employees to do when they're done packing those 200 boxes? And they said, oh, no, you're going to be here for, an hour and a half. That'll be plenty of time. I said, no, you don't understand our employees. They're going to pack those 200 boxes in about 30 minutes. They get very, competitive. They get super engaged. I'm like, do you have some cleanup or something? Because they're going to want more to do when they're done with packing those boxes. And I was right. They packed those boxes in like record time. So that's just one story that's really indicative of how engaged our employees are in giving back. And it's been challenging these last couple of years because we haven't been able to be out in community the way that we want to be. So we've been really creative and thinking of ways to, gauge our employees virtually, which is great because in a new hybrid environment, we're going to need to continue to offer those kinds of virtual opportunities. And I've been really impressed at how innovative our own employees have been at creating those opportunities. So members of our business employee resource groups, for example, started what we call volunteer power hours, where they send out a list of instructions of, we're going to pack snack bags for kids. Here's what you need to gather, get bags, get, snacks, treats, crayons, paper, pack it up, identify a local agency in your community where you can bring it. And then a group of 20 or so people get on a virtual call and talk with one another as they're packing, their bags. And that's been really popular. But you can tell these last few weeks where our offices have fully reopened again, more people are getting back out into the community, just how much they've missed it. And I think that's so critical, right, to helping people connect with the mission and getting people out in community wherever possible. And United Way makes that happen for us.
That's awesome. I think sometimes we have blind spots in the reality of our worlds, and being intentional in creating opportunities to get people engaged. My experience, and probably true with what you're saying, is people are looking for that. They want those kind of opportunities, especially aligned with your corporate social responsibility goals. So it helps them better understand what is our focus, what is our North Star as we give back to our communities that we live and work in. And I truly believe it impacts the culture of companies when they create intentional and actually create time for employees to engage.
Yes, absolutely. And then when I come to them and say, hey, it's campaign time again, they say, oh, I understand why we give to United Way. When I bring them to the classroom where we're feeding those kids and they talk to teachers who say, many of these kids may not have eaten since they left school the day before. They get school breakfast, they get school lunch, and then they might not get anything when they go home. People understand the impact that we're having. When we go out to fresh food distribution with United Way and the food bank, and they see people who are in food deserts, who aren't getting out and getting access to fresh fruit and vegetables, and we're bringing it to them, how appreciative they are of getting access to these things that they might not otherwise get access to. It's these kinds of experiences that help people, number one, understand why we do our Better Days work. Who is at the core of what we're doing? Why are we doing this? It's that Alice population, right? And then number two, they see the work firsthand, they get to experience, they get to engage in it. So then when I come and say, hey, would you consider a gift to United Way? They think, yes, I remember that child in the classroom. Yes, I remember that person who I gave a bag of fresh produce to. Yes, I want to engage and help give back and support the community.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So as we think about food insecurity, there's something that's coming up here in the near future, and it's called Summer Stock Up, and we're really excited about this because this is actually the second year that we've been able to do this. And I have to give kudos to Stephanie, because this has been Stephanie's brainchild, and helped create vision, and came to United Way and said, how can we pull this together and make this statewide? So Stephanie, I'm gonna give you a little opportunity to kind of highlight what Summer Stock Up is, the timing of it, a little bit about the program this year.
Yes. Well, first, I have to give credit to Anna Murphy and her team in Southwest Michigan, because they are the ones that had this great summer stock up. It was previously called Christmas in June or Christmas in July, one of the two. Anyway, they had this great summer food drive that they spearheaded. And yes, I went to them and said, we can take this statewide, because as I said, summer is such a critical time for families because school is out for the summer. So many families rely on those school meals and they're not getting them. And yes, there's many summer feeding programs, but again, sometimes those can be difficult for families to get children to participate in those because they might have transportation issues or they're working or whatever it might be. And so this was really an opportunity to help increase donations to local food pantries and food banks to help support families during this really difficult time, so that, they shouldn't have to make tough decisions about whether they're going to pay for rent or their mortgage or put food on the table for their family. How can we help with that? So we had a great event last year, taking this statewide for the first time, some great learnings, and excited to take it bigger and better this year. So it will be happening in June for a couple of weeks. Folks can give online. Some United Ways will be accepting, donations in person. So really excited to see how we can take it bigger and better this year and help those Alice families during the summer months.
Great. To me, this is just one example of how partnerships like with the Kellogg Company and bringing the strengths of our local United Ways across the state of Michigan, and also their relationship. So this isn't just a Kellogg Company kind of thing. This is an
No,
opportunity for
I
other
don't want it
corporations.
to be.
Yeah,
I don't want
exactly.
it to be just a Kellogg Company thing. I want to engage all sorts of partners in making this bigger and better, because this is not something that Kellogg can solve alone. This is not something United Way can solve alone. We have to all come together in a bigger collective way in order to help address sustainable and equitable access to food. Summer stock up is just one way that we can do that. So yes, please, I encourage everyone to reach out and see how they can engage in summer stock up this year.
Perfect. So I'm glad you put that plug in, because this is an opportunity. So if you have interest, you want to learn more about Summer Stock Up, we actually have a website set up. It's called summerstockup.org. Please take time to go and learn more about it. Or you can even reach us at the Michigan Association of United Ways as well to learn more too. But great opportunity. This is a great program, and most of all, it's gonna impact kids and families across our state that need it the most. As we get to kind of our closing time, Stephanie, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, because
All right.
what I appreciate is the passion that you bring to your work. Because I truly believe you love what you do,
I
you
do.
care about what you do, but you've also been in a leadership role at Local United Way on the board of directors. And I'm always interested to just kind of know from a personal level. Okay, take your corporate hat off and just put from a personal level, why United Way to you?
Yes. So when I think about my why and why I do what I do in my day job and why I do what I do from a personal perspective and giving back, it actually comes back to a little girl that I met doing a reading program at the Battle Creek Public School. And I met this wonderful little kindergartner. I got to go and read with her once a week. And, as you get to know children, usually they open up to you and share all kinds of things. And so, I got to hear all about how much she loved kitty cats and her favorite boots, which were these like pink winter boots that it didn't matter what season it was. She loved these boots and she wore them. We talked about the kind of books she liked to read. And, as I got to know her, she started to share more about some other challenging situations too. She shared with me that she didn't like the power company because they shut her power off. She shared sometimes going to the pantry in her house and not finding something in there. She talked about living with her grandma because she'd had some rough times with her mom. And so this little girl was facing some really challenging and difficult situations. And, I laughed after she sort of shared with me some of these things. It was kind of like, a punch in the stomach. Like, am I doing enough? Certainly I knew from a work perspective and our partnership with United Way perspective that she was at least getting breakfast every day. So when she got up in the morning and there wasn't something in the pantry, she knew that she was going to go to school. And because of Kellogg and United Way, she was going to have breakfast that morning and start out her day right. And then beyond just sort of the Kellogg partnership, from a broader United Way perspective, doing so much to support families like hers and making sure they're getting access to the financial resources they need. We were ensuring that, she was getting the educational resources she needed. That's why I was there as a reader every week. And so on my toughest day where I'm like, what am I doing? Sometimes I always think about that little girl and I'm like, that's why I do what I do. Because I'm helping that little girl and thousands of children and families make sure that they have the best possible success that they can have.
Yeah, that is so perfect. It's because this is what it is about. We can talk a lot about programs and initiatives and partnerships, but it's about people. It's always
It,
about people.
it absolutely is. And that's the beauty, too, I think, of our United Way partnership, is that we're connecting people. We're making a difference for people. And I'm just so proud at how we've evolved our partnership between Kellogg and United Way. It's not just about coming in and you having a campaign every year. We are making real tangible difference. We've really married our goals with one another. We're engaging our employees. They're getting to meet, just like I got to meet this amazing girl. They're getting to meet these amazing people in the community. And when we come together and unite behind this, like, magic can happen. So there's just so much power to partnerships. And I'm just so proud of ours. And I think there's so much more that we can be doing together collectively, because again, not one organization can solve these issues alone. And it really requires us as corporate partners coming together with United Way and all the partners that you work with to help address these issues.
Yeah, perfect. Couldn't say it any better. Well, Stephanie, I want to say thank you for being our guest speaker today. I really, just in my 30-year history, Kellogg Company is always at the top of just a great partner in the work that we do. But I also appreciate your leadership and the work that you do, and the passion that you bring to the work that you do. Because that allows us to be even more impactful and be more visionary in how we can do our work. So thank you for taking the time of joining us today. And I want to say a special thank you to our viewers to joining us. And we look forward to seeing you at our next leadership talk. And I just, again, thank you and have a wonderful day.